Hello again, Struck12. Today I'm bringing you the second out of 6 videos dedicated to each of the heroes in Rune King, a League of Legends story. This is a skills showcase and it will cover all the abilities, active abilities, passive abilities, ultimate, lane, instant, etc., as well as their upgrades when upgrades exist for the skill. It will also cover the runes, the masteries, and as well as showing you at the end a little bit about the Pyke specific weapons and armor, plus some more information as a bonus at the end, such as how to get Rune Shards, how to farm Rune Shards. So buckle up and I hope you enjoy this video. Starting with the abilities, as any hero, Pyke has 3 instant abilities, 6 lane abilities, an ultimate, a second ultimate and a third ultimate. He also has a passive ability and a mastery, and a dungeon ability, which also has a passive effect. I would like to start with an overview of the abilities like that, and then move on to the dungeon and passive. So I guess let's go for the dungeon and the passive. The dungeon ability is called Bone Skewer. You can throw out a harpoon that will hook an enemy, dealing damage and pulling them into combat. Enemies hit will have a reduced link radius, allowing Pyke to separate enemies that would otherwise be close enough to enter combat together. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you pull enemies together in a fight, even though they're pretty far from each other. So it's not very reliable in this regard, but it's very good nevertheless, and it works quite often. So the passive, Shadow Diver. Pyke can dive into shallow water to traverse through grates and other small openings. And yeah, it is useful when in certain parts of the story you would need to use Pyke. The game won't let you not use him because there are parts of the game that you need Pyke to progress through. You need him to move through those grates to dive. Now let's talk about Gift of the Drowned, the passive ability of Pyke. I have it as a BBA. And as you can see, what it does is Pyke gains 20% less health from stamina, but gains additional attack power equal to 20% of his stamina. 10% chance to grant Executioner on a hit, allowing Plunder and Death from above to trigger their bonus damage regardless of the target's HP. So yeah, it's pretty solid, and again, I've increased the chance to Executioner to 15%, and I've increased the chance of this one to 26%, and I've made Pyke always begin combat in stealth. Another bonus you could get here is Gift of the Drowned 1A restores HP to Pyke when he lands a killing blow. Then 2A reduces the health penalty from stamina from 20 to 10%, and here you can get Pyke's Bleed and Poison. Ticks will generate 2 overcharge per tick. Keep in mind, just like any other hero, you can only select 1A or 1B. In each of those ranks, each ability that has ranks would have 3 ranks. You can only select A or B for each of the ranks. So this is kind of how that system works. The other passive thing, which is a mastery, it increases the crit chance by 15% at rank 3 mastery per 10 overcharge used. So this is how Pyke's mastery works. Next we're moving on to the instant ability, starting with Serrated Slice, which I have as ABA. It deals X damage, applies a random debuff, has 20% chance to apply stealth to Pyke, generates 12 overcharge. Now 1A grants 20% chance to apply stealth, which can stack with this 40% and with the default 20%. 1B generates an additional 4 overcharge. 2A deals additional X damage. 2B adds a bleed, dealing X true damage over 3 turns. And true damage, to those of you who might not know what it is, it goes past certain resistances, certain barriers, etc. So certain enemies won't take much damage or would have huge damage reduction unless you use true damage and to bypass it or remove the barrier otherwise. Now, this one grants 40% chance to apply stealth. Again, it stacks with this and with the default one. And this one, 60% chance to apply an additional random debuff. I really like this ability. It's good to start with if you want to apply that stealth with that 80% chance. If you don't have the passive that lets you begin stealthed. Otherwise, if you have that passive to begin stealthed, you might want to start with this, so you can apply this attack power buff. And that moves us to Carve. Carve I have as an AAB. Carve deals X damage over 3 hits, increasing attack power by 20% for one action. So the next one action will have 20% extra attack power. And this reapplies stealth if it's active. It also generates 12 overcharge. So here we have deals additional X damage. Here we have generates additional 4 overcharge. Here we have increased crit chance of Carve, just this skill, by 25%. And here we have adds a poison dealing X true damage over 3 turns. On this side we have on a crit applies a bleed dealing true damage over 3 turns. Here we have has a 20% chance to grant an extra turn, which I really love about this skill. It might not seem like much, but it triggers reasonably often. Now this moves us to Ghost Shard. I don't have this upgrade, but it's because I'm going all-in with the damage when it comes to this hero. So Ghost Shroud reduces all damage taken by 45% and prevents stealth from being removed when hit until next turn. 20% chance to enter stealth. So 1A reduces all damage taken by an additional 5%. 1B increases crit chance by 10% for 1 turn. 2A reduces all damage taken by an additional 7%. 2B generates 8 overcharge. 3A increases the chance to enter stealth to 60% from the default 20, and 3B increases attack power by 15% for 1 turn. So that's pretty solid. Now this moves us to lane abilities. So instant abilities you can cast right away, whereas lane abilities, there are 3 lanes. Speed lane, balanced lane, and power lane. Depending on which lane you cast the ability, you would require you would cast it quicker in the speed lane. Otherwise, if you don't have good haste, an enemy might trigger their own action before your ability gets triggered if you use power lane. In speed lane, it's the lowest amount of healing, the lowest amount of damage. In balanced, it's kind of well balanced, and in power lane, it does the most amount of damage, and it does the most amount of healing if it's a healing ability. Certain skills would have some modifiers that would let them do specific effects when casting specific lanes. Starting with Ghost Water Dive, I have it as a AAA here. Grants stealth, making Pyke untargetable by single target attacks for 1 action or until hit. Removes 2 debuffs from self. Has no recovery time. So in most cases when you use this, you would be able to perform another action right away without needing to wait. Now 1A stealth can withstand an additional hit before being dispelled, which is nice. It doesn't apply just to this stealth, but to stealth in general. This one increases attack power by 10% for 1 turn. This one increases crit chance by 15% for 1 turn. This one, Pyke's next attack has 40% lifesteal. This one, Pyke's next attack applies a poison to each enemy, dealing extra damage over 3 turns to each. And this one cleanses 4 additional debuffs before entering stealth. Pretty solid. Moving on to Mark Target, I have it as a AA without a tier, without a rank 3. Applies Thunder and Magic Thunder, increasing physical damage and magical damage taken by 15% for 3 turns on the target. Either applies a bleed, dealing X damage over 3 turns, or bestows Pyke with stealth or executioner. Has no recovery time. Pyke deals X additional damage per hit for the rest of the battle to targets that have been marked. Is 1A, 1B, reduces mana cost by 33%. Then this, when a marked enemy dies, restores X HP and mana to Pyke. Increases Thunder and Magic Thunder by an additional 5%, making it to 20% with this. Then this one increases Pyke's chance to crit the marked target by 10% for the rest of the battle. Champions attacking the marked enemy will heal for X HP per hit. Next, what we have is Bone Skewer. Deals damage, guaranteed to crit on a bleeding target. 1A, deals an additional X damage if the target is debuffed. 1B, if the target is poisoned or ignited, grants 8 overcharge to Pyke. 2A, has 30% chance to grant Executioner on a crit. 2B, if the target is sundered or magic sunder, deals an additional X damage. Bone Skewer. 3A, on a crit, applies a poison to each enemy, dealing X true damage over 3 turns to each. 3B deals an additional X damage per debuff stack on the target. Moving on to Phantom Undertow. Deals X magic damage over 2 hits, stuns the target for a short duration, very useful in certain bosses that are not immune to stun, and applies Riptide. After performing an action, dealing X magic damage and applies a random debuff. It doesn't explain much what Riptide is, and I've been wondering throughout my whole playthrough exactly what it does. I guess I have to wait to apply myself Riptide and then inspect to see what Riptide does to figure it out. 1A, dispels one buff from the target. 1B, the follow-up strike deals an additional X damage. 2A, adds a bleed to the first hit, dealing X true damage over 3 turns. 2B, if the target is bleeding or poisoned, deals an additional X damage on the follow-up strike. 3A, if stealthed, he has a 100% chance to grant Executioner. And 3B applies an additional random debuff on the follow-up strike. Then, Plunder, I have it as a ABB. Plunder deals X damage over 2 hits. If the target is below 30% health or Pyke has Executioner, instead deals I think that's even more than double the damage, so X times 2 point something damage. A killing blow will grant an extra 25% gold from the target, and you can combine Plunder very well with Phantom Undertow 3A when stealthed as a combo. So what else we have here is 1A increases bonus gold granted on a kill to 50% from 25%. 1B reduces recovery time by 50% on a kill. 2A grants stealth when used with Executioner or on a low HP target. 2B on a kill restores HP to all champions. 3A deals an additional 1566 damage when used with Executioner, let's say X damage when used with Executioner or on a low HP target. And 3B on a kill applies a bleed to each enemy, dealing X true damage over 3 turns to each. I actually forgot what I had here, but maybe it was something like that. Maybe it was like that, I don't know, I can't remember what I had here, I'm gonna check later. Now here, Ambush, I have it as a ABB, or was it ABA? So, deals X damage over 2 hits, if stealthed deals, that's 2 point something of that same damage. And this is very good. This is such a huge, massive, easy to set up damage dealer. You just stealth yourself, or you can even start the battle stealthed, and then you deal damage over 2 hits. And if stealthed, you deal so much more damage again. And that over 2 hits is on that turn. You don't have to wait for the next turn for the second hit. Now you have 1A, increase crit chance of ambush by 10%. 1B generates 10 overcharge on a crit. 2A, if stealthed, applies a bleed and poison, each dealing X true damage over 3 turns. 2B, when casting the speed or power lane, deals additional X damage. 3A, consume up to 40 overcharge to deal an additional X damage per 10 overcharge consumed. 3B, if stealthed, deals an additional X damage. So pretty solid. I really like that ability. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Now, moving on to the ultimates. Keep in mind all abilities, including ultimates, would have a level requirement to unlock. You would start with certain things already unlocked, but eventually other things like those at the end, including the ultimates, would unlock as you level up. And the final ultimate requires you to do a certain quest in the second zone. On a certain island. I don't want to spoil much, but there's going to be one NPC that would require you to find certain items, turn them in, and then it unlocks the final ultimate for each hero based on the item that you give. It will give a separate quest for each hero, let's put it like that. Now, first ultimate, To the Depths. Deals X damage randomly among all enemies over 10 hits. That from below. Second ultimate, deals X damage over 4 hits if the target is below 30% or Pyke has Executioner, deals even more damage. I think another 50%, maybe 40% of the other damage on top of it. Reaper, ultimate number 3, deals X damage, deals an additional Y per stack of any debuff on the target, single target strong ability. Keep in mind ultimates use ultimate energy. This one uses 100, this one uses 175, this one uses 225. And this is it for Pyke's abilities. And now we're moving on to the runes. The runes are a very nice layer of building your character and of giving you extra power. The rune screen basically contains of 2 masteries, and each mastery has two 1 point cost, 1 rune shard cost abilities, 2 double cost, 2 triple cost, and 2 quadruple cost abilities. So a total of 8 abilities per mastery, or let's not say ability, let's say passive bonuses. And you can have every passive bonus if you feel like it of a certain mastery. You don't have to limit yourself like in the abilities, where if you take 1A you cannot take 1B, and if you take 2B you cannot take 2A, and so on. You can have 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4 if you feel like it, so hope that makes it clear. As you put points into each mastery, you would reach certain thresholds at 3, 6, 9 and 12 points. So that's how this goes. Now I would start with the first mastery, Assassin. On the Assassin mastery, first I'm gonna start with the passive bonuses. At 3 points you get 3% crit chance mastery. At 6 points invested you get begin battle with 10 overcharge. At 9 points you get chance to add a boon to the initiative bar that stealths champions in the region, making them untargetable by single target abilities, and increases evasion by 20% for 1 turn, removed if damage is taken. At 12 points increases crit damage by 4% on a crit which stacks up to 6 times. Was the entire battle. So with this on a crit, if you end up making 6 hits, not 6 attacks but 6 hits, so if an attack has 2 hits it will count, and both of them crit, you could get 2 stacks of 4, up to 6 stacks, 6 times 4, pretty amazing and solid extra source of crit damage. So let's go through that. For 1 point you can get 5% crit chance. For 1 point you can also get increased crit chance by 50% while stealthed. For 2 points you can get crit chance 10%, which stacks with this one, by the way, so anything here is stackable with anything else. For 2 points also you can get a twice poison on crit hits, dealing X damage over 3 turns. For 3 points you can get increased the damage of critical hits by an additional 18%. For 3 points you can get grants a 20% chance to enter stealth at the start of Pyke's turn. For 4 points you can get increased attack power and crit chance by 10%, again stacks with those. And for 4 points you can get increased lifesteal by 30%. Now we are moving on to the round 1 mastery, which at 3 points gives you 6% stamina, at 6 points gives you 6% attack power, At 9 points gives you chance to add a boon to the initiative bar that allows any champion landing in the region to apply a bleed and poison to a random enemy, each dealing 15% of the enemy's maximum HP as true damage over 3 turns. Then you have at 12 points Deadly Wounds, increases damage of bleeds, poisons and ignites by 40%. Now at one point you can get 5% attack power. At one point you can also get grants Executioner when landing the killing blow on an enemy. At 2 points applies bleed on a critical hit, dealing X damage over 3 turns, or you can get begins battle with 20% attack power for 1 action. Then at 3 points you can get 30% increased stamina, which is super solid increase of damage for Pyke. If you remember, his passive lets him get 20 or with the upgrade 26% of his stamina as attack power. Now at 3 points you can also spend 3 points to increase attack power by 15%. You can spend 4 points to get Bleeds, Poisons and Ignites can crit. You can also get Bleeds, Poisons and Ignites gain 60% lifesteal for 4 points. Keep in mind, you don't have to get any of the 2 points to get the 3 points, or you don't have to get the 3 points to get the 4 points. Again, as long as you get the required levels to unlock those, those 4, the 4s that cost 4, unlock at level 22. I'm not sure what level this unlocks, but I think it was around 16 or 18, something like that. So as you level up, you would unlock more and more of those, and eventually at 22 you would be able to invest into anything you like. There are 3 ways to get Rune Shards to upgrade your runes. So I'm not sure what the limit is. My guess is it might be 30 Rune Shards maximum. I don't know exactly what the maximum is, but one way to get those is to collect war objects. If you go to your journal and you click over here to browse rewards, every collected war object from regardless which map, every collected war object gives you 10 points. And you can see for Pyke, you can get at 430 points a Tome of Knowledge. This Tome of Knowledge you can use and it will grant you 1 extra Rune Shard. At 640 points you get another one for Pyke, and at 970 points another one for Pyke. So you can get a total of 3 for Pyke from this place. So keep collecting war objects on the maps. Maps normally would tell you whether there is a war over here down there. If you, for example, click, let's check this map, it would show you. See, I've got all 3 war objects here. It's what they look like a book. Now another way to get shards is every X levels you would get a Rune Shard. I don't know exactly how many levels, but every 3 or 4 or whatever levels you get Rune Shards. Now another source of shards is turning in that currency here called black marks. Black marks can be exchanged for those books. If you go to this NPC, which let me first show you how to get this NPC. This NPC you reach from getting to the docks harbor. From the docks harbor you have to walk all the way over here and then enter this door, this thing, and this thing would bring you to that part, which is the Wall-Tide Market. And in this NPC you can click trade in artifacts to trade any artifacts that you have found for black marks, but you need to go here into the shop and you can click under treasures and you can see a Tome of Knowledge for Pyke or for any hero would cost 20 black marks. And normally there's a stock of 20, but I've had cases where I would buy some of those books, then I would go to another zone, come back later, and then it will still be 20 left, even though it was back to 18 or 17. So 20 is the cost of each book. And again, you can trade artifacts for black marks, or you can trade fish at the fishmonger, which I'm gonna show you. For example, there are multiple fishmongers, but that fishmonger here is very close by. And if you go to the fishmonger, you can trade fish. You can click on trade fish, and any fish you have will be traded. Keep in mind, as you're fishing, you would get the fish over here under treasure. Also, the tomes of knowledge would be under this thing. Artifacts would also be here, and every type of fish or fish chunk will show you how much black marks you can get. For example, here, if I have 5 of those, I can trade them for 4 black marks. If I have 10 of those, for 1 black mark, 5 of those, 1 black mark, 5 of those, 8 black marks, and so on. This pretty much is it, how to farm, how to get black marks. The higher level the fishing spot, the better. So as you level up, you would unlock better fishing spots. For example, there's a fishing hole here, there's a fishing hole here, there's a fishing hole here, and you can revisit those holes, clean them out completely, or you can just go for this low level one, which cannot give you good artifacts and stuff. And for dessert, I would just like to say a few words about Pyke's class hero specific equipment. The weapon and the armor on every hero are hero specific. Pyke can use blades, certain blades that no other hero can use. Yasuo also uses swords, but not the ones that Pyke uses. The same goes for the armor. The armor that Pyke can wear, other heroes cannot wear. This is the legendary one, which you can get after completing a certain quest. You unlock a certain forge, and then you can craft a legendary item for every hero, a legendary weapon for every hero, but that would require certain materials. The quest will tell you roughly where to find them. So the armor, as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, stacking stamina and attack power is one of the best ways to build Pyke. The more stamina, the more damage he gets, and the more attack power, obviously, the more damage he gets. So as you can see, I've been stacking damage and stamina, damage and stamina, damage and stamina everywhere. So not only does he get a lot of HP by stacking the stamina, but he also gets 26% or 20 if you don't have the upgrade of the stamina's damage. So hopefully this was useful information as well. If you like to get notified when I upload more content like this one, or other content such as first impressions or reviews, build videos, guides, etc. For games like this one or other Wooter or RPG related games, subscribe to my channel, click that bell button to not miss out my uploads. Another thing worth noting is YouTube has a thing called memberships, which is a monthly membership payment which would grant you special access to emotes and badges that I've made myself. And additionally and optionally, members can request by contacting me, usually on Discord or wherever, they can request some tutorials that I can give you, just the basics of Photoshop, of Premiere and After Effects. Thanks again for watching this video, Struck Club. Keep it cool, until next time, and goodbye.